Welcome to the Greatest Movie of All Time podcast. I'm Tom Duncan, and joining me this week for a very special episode, we have three international guests for the first time. So just to introduce them, one is my foreign uncle, my mother's host brother when she was in Germany in, 83, 84? And his two best friends.
Something.
Okay. All right. But you guys want to individually introduce yourselves?
Yes. My name is Alex. It's great to be here. Great to follow the episode and to be a host of it. Looking forward to have some nice things to say about one of my favorite movies.
Excellent.
This is Thomas. I'm a friend of Alex since we met in a jogging group. And we figured out while talking over all this jogging time, we kept on talking more and more about the movies and TV shows in the old times and figured out that we are almost the same age and that we have pretty much the same thinking about all the old movies. And we love the same movies. And we know the same jingles.
Yes, we do.
So that was pretty much.
We sing them during our runs.
We sing the singers in once and let the other one guess what it is. So that figured out to be pretty funny.
Okay,
excellent.
So
and our third guest.
Yes, this is Eva. I'm the wife of Thomas and a friend of Alex and Michi.
My wife?
Yes, Alex's wife. Yes, I would say I'm a child from the 80s, 90s, so I love all the 80s stuff, and I love the films, the music, and I love Back to the Future, especially the first episode, so I'd love to watch the movies again.
And we all love to talk about it.
Yeah.
Especially
which is
with
great
you,
for a podcast.
Especially with you.
So, where are you guys coming from?
From a small town in western Germany.
Yes.
Called MG Action Town, Mönchengladbach.
Famous Mönchengladbach.
Yeah, known from its famous soccer club Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Who did have a significant win over the weekend, I will add.
No.
Oh, we had.
Oh, yes, we had.
Yeah, yesterday we
like
won
4-1.
Yes,
against Union Berlin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Pretty
so
good
we're
because-
back on the third position in the
Champions
first
League.
division.
Champions League, not
Yeah.
Premier League.
First division, and hope we will have a place in Champions League next year.
Still?
All right.
Yeah,
Perfect.
those games without any watchers.
Yeah.
All right. So, you guys ready to talk Back to the Future?
Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. So, we will cut it there. All right. So, the first thing we do on every podcast is, what is your relationship to this movie? So, which of you would like to start?
Yes, I watched it in the 90s, of course. All things I learned in the 80s, I learned from my brother, Matthias. He's 3 years older. So everything he brought home, he showed me. So it's the movies, it's Back to the Future, it's whatever, It's the music he listened to, I listened to. The games he played, I listened to it. That's how I got into the 80s.
Okay.
And we still love the movies. We got all the DVD special versions. I guess we have 3 DVD boxes. The last one had 2 more minutes of special features, and we, of course, need to have it. Yeah, and we love to talk about it. Next one.
Okay. Who's up?
Alex, you're a much bigger fan than I am, seems like. because I don't have any DVD box of this or VHR or VCR. Yeah, I'm a TV child. In the 80s, TV on, there you go. Whatever it is. Something.
It was not so much because we already had three
Programs,
programs.
but there was pay TV, so that much more, but you have to pay for it.
Ah, okay.
My parents were poor. We had no pay TV.
We had
No,
pay
we
TV
didn't
either.
have it.
Never pay TV. And whatever comes, you watch it. It's Star Wars A-Team, of course, famous, very famous. David Hasselhoff, Knight
Oh
Rider,
yes,
and so
of
on.
course.
And that starts kind
One
of
computer, one
with-
One
man,
car.
one car.
with a car. And here are the most famous cars of the 80s, which is, of course, the Knight Industries 2000 and the DeLorean from Doc Emmett Brown.
DCM 12.
This movie was one of many, many movies I have watched in the 80s, and there were so many I have forgotten already. And this one is one of the few ones
Unforgettable.
unforgettable, and that's something we talked about before. This is a movie when it comes in, when it gets cast, when you see it in TV, you just browsing through the channels and you see it, you just stay with it. No matter if you're in the beginning or in the end, you can stay with it. You can watch it all time again. And when you have watched it half year ago and you jump on it, you keep going watching it because this is just you can watch all the time.
Yeah, there are certain movies that you grow up with that kind of stick with you that way. I didn't exactly grow up with this. It's actually only the second time I've seen it. But yeah, I know. So, but let's jump in. Ava, what's your relationship to this movie?
My relationship is that I watched it the first time at my best friend's house. So they had pay TV, we hadn't. So they showed me the movie, we watched it together, and I was absolutely fascinated by the story and all the pictures, the car, the story, the characters, and yeah, I liked it, and every time I went out of my youth.
So, for everybody listening, I know this is a very pop culture movie that there are not a lot of people that aren't familiar, at least generally, with this movie. But just for background, in this 1980s sci-fi classic, small-town California teen Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox, is thrown back into the 50s when an experiment by his eccentric scientist friend, Doc Brown, played by Christopher Lloyd, goes awry. Traveling through time in a modified DeLorean car, Marty encounters young versions of his parents, played by Crispin Glover and Lea Thompson, and must make sure that they fall in love or he'll cease to exist. Even more dauntingly, Marty has to return to his own time and save the life of Doc Brown. So, just taking through the basic quick pieces of this, this was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, Original Song for Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News, and Sound Mixing. It also won for Best Sound Effects. It appears as the AFI's 10th best sci-fi movie of all time, and is part of the United States National Film Registry as of 2007. So, the next question we usually go to, what is this movie about? If you were to suggest this to somebody, and they asked you the immediate question everybody always does, what is this movie about?
What's that?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, fine on.
I guess I would have two top topics for this movie. One is a great view of the 80s, of course, from like today, or let's say from 1985, okay? But it's a really great, really nice movie showing the 80s in a very, how should I say it, romantic, very nice style, a little bit close to some other movies about the 80s. So that is one big thing for me. The other one is, of course, and clearly, this is one of the clear best and most interesting as well as scientific time travel movies. And I think this is absolutely clear.
So if I were to sell this to anybody, I think I would list it as a fun popcorn adventure movie about a time-traveling teenager. All right. Anybody else? What would you pitch as this? What is this movie about?
Yeah. It's two things about it. It's one thing that the teenager learns to be self-confident by traveling back in time to see what is needed to be better, to teach his own father, being the man he used to be. He starts being a better himself. I don't know if it is understandable what I said. That's the main thing, I guess.
Okay. All right. So,
Thomas, did you get my words?
You're kind of fading in a little out. I'll probably have to record something here at the top of the podcast, basically to just let everybody know that we had some technical glitching. But, you know, it is a podcast, and people listen to it sometimes for the unabridged, unedited version with all of its flaws and whatnot. So, all good.
Fine.
So, we will go into our normal categories here then. What does everybody have down for who was their best performance of the movie? Now, this could be director, it could be a technical person, it could be the casting director, or any of the actors. So, I had down Michael J. Fox. I think he's probably the most memorable person of this movie. He's the main title character, but everything about it stems from his performance and his charisma and you know, I mean, this movie is famous
his
for that
skateboarding and his guitar playing, of course.
Well, naturally. But, you know, this movie is famous for having another actor for the first 5 weeks and then realizing it didn't work. And, you know, I don't think there are too many other people that could have played this role at this time in the same way and been able to do it.
That's same with Christopher Lloyd. I couldn't imagine another character for Doc Brown as Christopher Lloyd.
This mad scientist with this kind of overacting and like a conductor, dirigent. Yeah. So that was so special, and this makes it so brilliant.
Yeah.
And the relation they have to each other. They're more than friends. They're family.
Yeah, and that's they are able to transport it to the watchers.
Kind of an unhealthy relation, at least for parents. No parent wants their teenager to have a friendly relation to a crazy scientist like him. That's somebody what no parent would want for their child. But it worked pretty good in this one.
1985? In 95, I would say yes,
the
but
past.
1985...
Well, okay.
Probably not.
You know, I know that it's... Well, I'll get back around to it. I have a discussion point on that eventually, but... yeah. Okay, so that takes us to best scene. So here are a few of the nominees that I picked out. Marty inventing skateboarding.
Yes.
Wait, I really wonder if this was even almost realistic, having those kids with this kind of skateboard with the casting around what Marty just pulled away. Is this something what has happened in the 50s?
It was kind of the pre-scooter, if you know what that means. Are you familiar? Okay, yeah. So they kind of had a scooter, and he broke the front part off and then just used it as a skateboard. So I think that is accurate to at least small town American like transportation or whatever for small kids. Not in the same way. Most kids were using bicycles. Let's be honest. But they cleverly put. What was that?
Yes, Michael J. Fox had to do a little video clip for Australian audience that it's dangerous to behind a car.
Oh yeah, okay.
It really happened. Maybe I can find the clip
warning,
on. Yeah, it's like a warning clip.
That reminds me on the.
I did that. I used my skateboard and used it behind a bike, a bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
It worked great.
Many people did it. Yeah, it all works great until it happens. Turns to an accident. So this reminds me, when you say Australia, this reminds me to Dumb Ways to Die.
That's what exactly what I wanted to ask you.
Because this was as well in the Australian clip from the Australian Public Transfer, I don't know what, agency or company. So don't do stupid things, instead you want to die.
Yeah.
So when you say typical Australian, maybe they are very typical for being careful or warning people for dangers, especially in transport system. There might be something about the Australians regarding this.
George McFly knocks out Biff.
George knocking out Biff. Yeah, we had that just this intense screenplay of an actor who I find very interesting, Crispin Glover. His face, his impression, the way how he's closing his fist, his shaking.
Yep.
And when you say he's a kind of a creepy guy, yes, can't deny it. But
from the very
point.
First beginning, he knows himself that he's more intelligent, that he's the better guy than Biff is.
But he's a nerd. He has no chance.
He's a nerd. Yes, of course.
He is the typical thing, like in all teenage high school movies, there are the muscle guys and the nerds.
Yep.
And especially in newer movies, you have very often the changing point that in the end the nerds are the winners, and the muscle guys are the losers. Very funny in Big Bang Theory, these subject. And here it's a classic when the nerd turns to the winner, like Can't Buy Me Love and so many other teeny movies.
Yeah, I think it was a recurring theme throughout the 80s that you had this kind of dynamic where
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Revenge of the Nerds.
It was one of the best scene of this turning point, nerd into, let's say, winner. One of the best scenes of the 80s movies at all, where you see this changing.
So I do believe that, I don't know if this is the best scene, but it might be the most pivotal to the whole plot of the movie. This is kind of that whole turning point. Even though Marty is still disappearing until George kind of gets the courage to kiss Lorraine, it's still the one part that they've been building towards the entire movie, where
actually,
George...
What you're just referring to is, when you ask me, the most useless scene of the movie. Because that is what I really dislike. George hit down Biff and became kind of the winner, which is all good, fine. This is beautiful for a movie like this. But why it was necessary to put that scene in?
Yeah.
When
the second guy,
creepy, useless guy was taking away his girl, and he was like turning around and going away like he's usually doing, but then just appearing. I mean, it was, of course, to make Marty almost falling down, losing his hand, and so on. But this
was just a happening thing. It was not because of George. It was for Marty.
This scene was in only for Marty to make this more into George. It was that was unnecessary. They should have done it differently. Do you know what I mean?
No, I would tend to agree that this whole part of the plot is more unnecessary, because even from the first moment that Biff appears and he's kind of giving George a hard time when they're adults yet, before Marty ever goes back in time, the whole arc of the movie is building towards him finally standing up for himself, taking on the guy that's picked on him, and then having the confidence to win the girl. So to have that, be undone almost by something else and have this extra added part of it. Yes, I know it gets us to the whole Michael J. Fox kind of getting confidence in himself by being able to, play the guitar and do that whole scene. And that is fun. It does kind of give you an underwhelming moment where they come back in and kind of cut that scene at the knees a little bit. All right, so next scene I had as a nominee, the clock tower sequence.
What? What?
The biggest problem on the clock tower sequence for me, since I'm a kind of a logical person, I'm a technician, was really the unlogical part of it. I mean, the idea of using the power of a lightning and wait a second. The idea of using
22 gigabytes.
The idea of using
it worked with the flag.
Energy to use it for like this, like a time machine, is per se not too bad, but the way how this was here implemented, I've kind of a big problem with it. What we know from lightnings is lightning lasts like a tenth, maybe a quarter second. But here we're talking about a car which is running with 88 miles per hour down a street. It has a hook. The hook will touch a cable, and it will touch this cable for, a tenth of a second. It will bend a little bit, and then it will untouch it again, so it will lose it again. So yes, the tenth of a second on the one end, which is the time of the lightning, and the tenth of a second how long this cable will be touched by the hook of the car.
And exactly 4 minutes after 10 p.m. when the lightning hit into the clock.
And then we talk about a little clock which has to be winded by the little screw at the end, and it rings, and the car doesn't start, and we have a speed of the car which is not 100% defined. So this is logically a big problem that the car is exactly the same tenth of a second on the cable where it has to be. Just going back a little bit, we know at what minute the lightning hits the clock. We don't know at what tenth of a second it hits it. So this scene is, from the technical side, completely unlogical.
Nonsense.
All
but
right,
it's a movie,
hold on,
and I don't care about it. I really do not care about it.
Okay, so that is the first argument, that you have to, in a lot of these movies, suspend disbelief. First of all, if you shoot at a air tank that a giant shark has swallowed, it's not going to blow up the shark. There are so many things in movies that don't make sense.
How can you know this? How often have you tried this?
Okay, I didn't have to because the Mythbusters did that one. But even so, like, there are certain things.
Mythbusters im Fernsehen.
Okay.
Did they try the lightning thing?
I don't know about that one. That one would be incredibly difficult in order to do, or to like recreate exactly. But first
we tried it. Now cars in the future.
Okay, I understand your difficulty in that there are 60 seconds and you're doing a tenth of it. Okay, fine. But here's the other piece of it. What they're doing with the DeLorean is it's basically a tow hook in the same way that they land fighter jets on an aircraft carrier, and that it has a little bit of give. So you don't have a tenth of a second. You probably have, maybe 1 or 2 seconds, and that you're hoping that it works out. So there is a little bit of a technicality, but it's not nearly as rigid as you're making it out to be. There is a little bit of give to the whole thing, because he does leave the tow hook as, I think when the scene concludes, the tow hook is still in the past and the car is in the future, or the present, or however you want to put it.
Yes.
So, it's probably a slightly bigger window than you've made it out to be.
And furthermore, Doc built this little...
the model.
The model.
The model,
Yeah.
not in the right size, and he did not paint it. So maybe he did some fails in the calculation.
in transmission.
This maybe cost some seconds.
On the technical level,
technical thing. What about the car being a parodeffic?
every car is
Okay.
a parodeffic
So
case.
how can the lightning put the energy?
That
If
is
it's absorbed by the car.
that is easy. That is actually not
Directly
problem.
into the flux compensator.
that works.
Yeah,
That part
to
is
the
technically
hook.
explainable.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But can't-
Okay.
Is it? Yeah.
When you
is
have a
it
But the
conductor-
hook should melt
works.
away
that-
with
that
so
the
much
lightning,
energy.
That the car, that
No,
the
it works.
direct,
That works.
could
That works.
absorb the lightning, so that it's not possible to go in the hook.
No. That works. When it's a conductor let into the flux capacitor, it works. That is technically
But
Okay.
unrealistic,
that would be-
yes, but it works.
Yeah. That
Your
would
your
be-
your
Did you all know
entire premise is that we're talking about a movie about a flux capacitor, which doesn't even exist. So all of the rest of this could be explained
yet.
away by. Ah.
One moment, Tom. Of course it exists. You saw the movie. You saw the engine. You saw the lightning on the flux compensator. Of course it. And me and a friend of mine, we rebuilt it 20 years ago for a school project
Cool.
to a Opel Omega.
All right.
And we did a time traveling. Of course we did.
Cool.
And we put some fuel on the ground to have that
No.
fire line. Oh, it was great.
What?
I have to show you the video. I have
Okay.
it on VHS. Great.
So you can't say it doesn't exist.
All right. So my next scene, since we already had a technical argument, I'm going to make a different technical argument. All right. The Two Pines Mall. What mall parking lot in America can you actually get up to 88 miles an hour in? There is no way
it
in that
depends on the
smallest
engine.
space he's going to be able to accelerate that quickly while running away from these other Libyans that are trying to gun him down in a van.
In the DeLorean, it does not have a Porsche engine. It has an electric engine.
Yes.
And electric cars have a
Has
very
the power.
high
Yeah,
torque
yeah, yeah.
from the beginning.
Yes.
The acceleration of electric cars is great. And when this car has a plutonium energy source with 1.21 gigawatt, then the electrical motor in the car can accelerate it extremely fast to 88 miles per hour.
Yes. USA.
USA. So this part works.
Okay. Did you say 1.21 gigawatts?
Confirmed.
You are out.
Don't do a story where
It's confirmed.
All right.
You behind me.
Electrical technician, I like the big technical mistake with the 1.21 gigawatts. That's my favorite translating mistake. And I've worked on technical level with Americans. I've spent some time in Illinois in a company. And I know that in America, the point is used the same way as in Germany, the comma. And you are using the comma.
That is the point.
You're using the comma kind of not at all in numbers. And if you use it, it's like not existing, like we are using the point. So when you write 1000.50, it's 1,000.50. And for us, it's exactly the different thing. It's 1 point, if so, 000 comma 50. Now that's something you need to know. And the 1.21 gigawatt is translated in German as 1.21 gigawatt, which is wrong in 2 different points. Point 1, sorry. Subject 1 is it has to be 1 comma 21. That would be correct in the German language. And the second mistake, you would not say 1 comma 21. In German technology, you would say 1 comma 21. After the comma, say the separate numbers.
Yeah.
So that hit me in the beginning, and I was always technical.
And the scientist would never mix that up.
I thought it was like some very special science, rocket science, super high special thing. We had no clue about it, but in the end, it was just this freaking mistake.
So I have a solution for
the
you.
movie Quickly. Do you know with Tom Selleck?
yeah,
Quickly.
Quickly, the Australian.
Yeah, in Germany it's called Quickly the Australian, and it's the only guy which is not an Australian.
Yeah.
Typical German mistake.
In fact, he isn't.
Yeah, he's the einzige, der es nicht ist.
Yeah. But my
So
Stupid.
I have a solution for you.
Oh,
Watch
okay.
all American movies in English. Takes care of all of it.
Sure, that helps. I agree. But there's one problem with this. We are Germans. We are lazy.
Well, welcome to being an American.
I like the scene where Doc Brown is after the car has disappeared and the 2 fire stripes are, and he realizes that his plan worked, and he's dancing in the streets and shouting out, and
then he goes home and
like
everything is gone for him.
This is
Until the third movie.
And he doesn't look different from the 1955 to 85. 30 years, and he
a bit.
So
do not look different. Just from the clothes, but nothing more.
Just dancing in the
All right.
That was a good
happy,
shot. Good shot.
Yeah.
It was very nice seeing him so happy dancing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what of these is your favorite scene then?
Okay.
Most favorite scene?
You
Each
mentioned
scene that shows the DeLorean, because some years ago I had the opportunity to drive that car, and it was, for me, I can't explain that. It was like a dream. It's not just a car. It's not just like a nice car, a nice looking car. For me, the DeLorean always will be the time machine. Always. It's
Yeah, right.
It would be the equivalent of me getting to hold a lightsaber.
From Knight Rider.
Always be the kid. So
it's
every black Pontiac Trans Am is kit,
So
and
for
every
me, it
DeLorean
was,
is a time machine.
Yeah.
we went to a bachelor party and we had a very nice dinner in some kind of
A diner.
American
style diner.
50, 60 location, like a
With a school bus where they served in the diner.
Yeah, it was a big school bus. Yeah, right.
And the very special thing was, by chance, not planned, there was a DeLorean meeting in Germany.
We got out after dinner to go on partying, and we went out, and there were standing 5, 6, 7 DeLoreans.
And then we watching around the corner, there were more DeLoreans. In the end, we counted them down to 32.
I don't know. But,
32
so
DeLoreans. And at least 5 of them had flux capacitors in it. Not kidding.
So
Working ones, of course.
So cool.
It was just a problem with the plutonium.
Yeah.
But you but in '85 you can get it in each corner drugstore, of course.
In 1955.
55, it's much more heavier to get to
the
it.
The couple even had the chance to make pictures in it.
Yeah.
So that was completely by chance, not planned, and there were 32 DeLoreans.
And everywhere in the world you can drive with a DeLorean all people get out their smartphones, make picture of it.
Yeah.
It's just
So they go,
such a special car.
So
You can have
great.
a Humvee, you can have a Porsche, you can have a Lamborghini.
Whatever you want, a
nobody
55
gives you so
Ferrari,
much
but the
attention.
DeLorean is the one,
Oh,
always.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, I mean, it's not only that car is no longer made, that company no longer exists. It was the American Motor Company where my great uncles used to work, and even that doesn't exist because there used to be a plant not too far from me. So, all right.
I would choose the DeLorean if I had a chance between a Ferrari and a DeLorean. I would take the DeLorean.
Yes,
Definitely.
yes. A Trans Am, a black Trans Am and a DeLorean.
Oh, come on.
Not such an easy choice.
Black Trans Am, which is making...
Some years I already had the chance to drive Kit, and the owner told me kids are getting weird now because one said, "Oh look, that's Batmobile."
Okay, that's pretty bad.
Mm.
Turn it on.
Pretty bad.
That, oh.
Well, especially because there are like 7 different versions of the Batmobile now.
Huh?
Sorry?
There are like 7 different versions of the Batmobile by this point. I mean,
thought
you have the
7.
there's the Tim Burton one, there's the Michael Schumacher one, there's the Christopher Nolan one, there's going to be the Matt Reeves one, there was the 1967 or 60s Adam West version.
Yes.
There was one from Batman the Animated Series. So that's 6.
Yes.
How about the comics?
The comics have had different versions appear multiple times.
Okay.
There was also one in the 1940s serials that was different than the 60s version.
In the Joel Schumacher's movies, there have been 2 different ones, I guess.
Yeah, probably. Because
Yeah.
I think it did change from Batman Forever to Batman and Robin. But
Yeah.
I don't bother watching those movies because they're terrible.
Yeah.
So,
Agree.
Yes.
Totally
But
agree. The worst movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger ever.
Oh yes. Batman and Robin. But I like Alicia Silverstone, but I'm not allowed to say that in public because she's blonde. Anyway, my most favorite Batmobile is the Tim Burton one.
Of course.
It's great. A
Of course.
big black downforce car with it looks so great. The setting of the whole movie is great.
Yeah.
Absolutely great.
Tim Burton.
well,
Burton.
we can come back and have you guys review 1989 Batman with me at a different point. So,
Of course.
all right, so
we have to
that's
watch it in English.
yeah, that's probably true. So that's probably a good spot to cut for right now for a word from our sponsor. And now I want to tell you about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It gives you smart creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone, tablet, or computer and helps you distribute them to all the major platforms like Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and more. Plus, they help to hook you up with sponsorships like this one, no matter the listener size, which will help you fund your podcast. And best yet, it's free to use. Look, if you've ever had an itch to talk and express yourself about a topic you like, there is no better time than 2020 to do so. I've started 2 podcasts this year alone, including this one, and we use Anchor for each and every episode. So what do you have to lose? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started making your own podcast today. Welcome back to the greatest movie of all time podcast. So we're getting into best lines. So anybody have any nominees? I have like 7 here. All right, so here's a few of the ones, and I'll just slightly pause after each of these for the connection. But if my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious shit.
That's a good one.
All right. Wait a minute, Doc.
What about McFly? Someone at home? McFly.
Yeah, or do you call me a coward?
Ja, genau.
All right.
Yeah.
No one calls me a chicken.
Yeah, or something like that.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me you built a time machine out of a DeLorean? The way I see it, if you're going to build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
Or maybe they found me. I don't know how, but they found me. Who? The Libyans.
What about the when Marty and George are
my father is a
No, not that one. When they are when they practicing between
him and
Lorraine. Put your fingers off her.
Yeah, you're
great.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
I like very much when Marty was meeting his uncle Joey. Better get used to this basket.
Used to that basket. Yeah. Knastbruder Joe, we call him German.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Then tell me, future boy, who's president of the United States in 1985? Ronald Reagan? The actor?
The actor?
And who's the vice president? Jerry Lewis? I suppose Jane Wyman is the first lady?
And the Verteidigungsminister?
Minister
of
Secretary of
Defense.
Defense.
Great one.
All right.
It's a museum, the house of Doc Brown, actually. You can visit it still.
Sure.
Marty is always saying heavy.
Yeah.
When he finds somebody very strange, strong, he's saying heavy.
And the Doc Brown wonders about
He's saying, is there a problem with Earth's gravitational power in the future? Why is everything so heavy?
Sorry, guys, you're too loud. Mr. Huey Lewis said that in the movie.
Yes, that's true.
The composer of the song. Great. Eure Kinder fahren da voll auf ab.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, one more line after the Johnny B. Good song. How is the English line? Nach dem Lied. After the song. Aber deine Kinder fahren da voll drauf ab. Eure Kinder fahren da voll drauf ab. We're looking for the line.
But your kids will like it.
Yeah. But,
you may not be.
Yeah, that is
something like you may not be ready for it, but your kids will like it. After he performed the song Johnny Be Good,
and he gets over it
a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
We don't know what it was in English, but this was a very good one.
Yeah.
All right. Next one I had. Hey Doc, you'd better back up. We don't have enough road to get to 88.
Yes.
Roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Great one. Wie wär's mit einer Spazierfahrt, Mister?
That's pretty good.
Romantic.
All right. Also, my nominee for funniest line, Calvin. Why do you keep calling me Calvin? That's your name, isn't it? Calvin Klein. It's written all over your underwear. All right.
It's a rerunner. I've seen that already.
Yeah. Last one I had. What if I send it in and they don't like it? What if they say I'm no good? What if they say, get out of here, kid, you got no future? I mean, I just don't think I can take that kind of rejection. Jesus, I'm starting to sound like my old man.
Did you ever do so?
I like very much when in the end...
You're a slacker! You're a slacker! Yeah. Your dad was a slacker too!
Doc Brown was shot, and he just stand up and Marty was asking him, what about all this talk about screwing up future events? This space-time continuum? And Doc answers, well, I figured, what the hell?
Your future hasn't been written yet. No one's has. Your future is what you make it. So make it a good one.
This is pretty deep.
I think this is the essence of the film.
Yeah.
So.
And it was the kind of the end of the film, of the third movie, right?
So the future is what you make of it.
Yeah.
So,
and
all
the
right.
score fits perfectly into it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think naturally.
And it's
probably
the first time in Hollywood history that that they had a 98 people orchestra for the score. Never before they had that. Not for Star Wars yet.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, which was in the 80s kind of new, the last scene when Doc Emmett Brown appeared again from the future with his time machine and picked up Marty and of course Jennifer, and then he said, "You've got to come back with me." Where? Back to the future. So this was when that was in the movie kind of new, in the movies. They were starting already the next movie in the end of the first movie.
But it was a gag. It was never planned to do
it was not
a sequel.
Yes, it was just a gag.
But it was greatly made.
Yeah, of course it was. And it was in 1985 a great special effect.
Oh yes.
Yeah, okay.
When it started flying.
Right, yeah.
Streets, we don't need any streets. Yes, yes.
It's flying.
All right. So that takes us to the all-important piece of doing the podcast and where this is going to fit in eventually on the list of our greatest movies of all time. So that takes us to the grading section of the podcast. First category, as we usually do, legacy. For example, on this one, and I'll make my argument. This is, if you ask anybody to make a list of, quintessential or top movies of the 80s, this is going to be in just about everybody's top 10. To understand the culture, to understand the time period of what it was like. This movie has had legs. It's been seen by, most people. I don't know if it's in the same category with kids of the modern age. So anybody under about 15, I don't know if this resonates in the same way. But this is a movie that is pretty high up on a legacy score as far as a favorite of Hollywood, still comes around, still talked about. So I graded it out as a 9.5 out of 10. Anybody else?
I would do it a 10. Because if you're talking about the 80s, you always talk about Back to the Future.
Yeah.
The only reason I wouldn't put it as a straight 10 is, how to put it?
But,
I have a very difficult
as a teacher, there are teachers that will never give an A+. Never.
I understand your point. I'm trying to reserve it for the maybe a handful of movies that have a certain legacy.
Because they say that
there's always, but I agree.
It's a storytelling. It's a score. It's the characters. It's a story. There's so many positive things about it. So
sure.
It's a 10. Why not? Give it a 10.
All right.
And
it's worth.
I agree. I go with Alex because we see it from our point. We are here in Germany.
And we are older than you are.
And we are
Listen
older.
to the wise man.
Oh,
Wise
don't give me that bullshit.
The healthy Germans
No.
with Angela in front.
Oh my God.
No.
Okay, that was the
She
wise.
disappeared somehow.
That was the wise German. But I agree with Alex because here, you must see that we here in Germany don't see every movie that you see, and the 50s and in USA we only know from some movie. And one of the movies which shows us the 50s in USA, or maybe should say the movie which shows us the 50 in the USA, is Back to the Future. There might be few others, but not very many. So yes, I give it a 10.
All right.
Eva, something to say? Just agree?
I would like to agree. I give it 9 to 10. because I like the playing of some kind of role models of this time, referring to the 50s as referring to the 80s. So they are playing with the prejudices of this time. So as Marty appearing with this red vest on, and he's asked if he's wearing a life vest, and playing some kind, showing the 50s styles, like we think the 50s were in America. So
when you ask me, the biggest
this showing of these two periods of time, I like it.
The two biggest movies talking about the 50s, and actually we have in both movies kind of a time shift, is of course Back to the Future, and the next one is Pleasantville.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Pleasantville. So,
but Pleasantville only shows the
Tobey Maguire.
the TV
TV version
of the 50s, not the 50s.
Yes.
Back to the Future shows the 50s.
The TV version of the 50s, which how you know it in so many old TV shows, is something what we don't know at all. In Germany, TV version of the 50s in the United States, we don't have any examples.
Sometimes when you just drive down the road, there are so many little cities, little towns. They still look like the 50s or 60s in the US. We don't have that in Germany.
Yeah.
So you have another eye on it, of course.
A different point of view.
Yeah,
when we go in the
point.
The old stuff, we might see some little traces from, maybe not medieval times, but from maybe 100 years ago, and old little things. We see, of course, traces from the medieval times, but as well
more than traces,
bigger things from like 100 years ago. But this big thing, kind of big thing, what are the 50s in the United States? This is something what we are kind of missing this way, specifically regarding how it was in the United States. It was for us a much different time, of course, because the 50s was for us a time of starving and so on. Nobody loves to talk about this. The 50s? This was just short about after the World War II.
This was also the time of beginning the so-called
late 50s. Late 50s was the Wirtschaftswunder.
The starting to travel to Italy.
Industry going up and so on because of the help of the British, American, English to build up a wall against UdSSR.
That was beginning of the 60s.
That was all political made in Germany, so not normally grown.
So, if
it was
you
different for us.
Normal, it's quite the same. So, women stays at home, men goes to work.
Okay, that's the same.
So if you
all right, impact significance. Probably one of the biggest movies of the 80s, and if not the biggest, as far as pop culture. There are probably a couple of others that you would nominate, Ghostbusters, Ferris Bueller, Top Gun, that are going to be easily in that
Star
list.
Wars.
Well, it depends on which one, because the original Star Wars is 77, but Empire is 80. Now, I've maintained that the most important sequel ever made is The Empire Strikes Back, because it really established franchise films where, modern films, especially with how Hollywood is going right now, you have Netflix and some of these small independent studios, but the big studios right now, all they're focusing on is building franchise movies. So they make one movie so that they can make 4 movies. Whether that's the Avengers or Batman.
Easy earning money.
Well, it's an established thing that they can make sure that if they're going to spend a lot of money, they're going to get a rate of return on. So there are not a lot of properties where you're going to go to that. But this is kind of that second wave where you still don't have the same level of franchises, but this is kind of that next step of different movies where you had multiple ones. This comes before, not before the original Terminator, but before Terminator 2 had happened, because there was a significant gap between Terminator 1, Terminator 2. This happens before the Jurassic Park movies. This happens before the Batman movies. The only one I would say that's in that original Star Wars category is that you'd had multiple Superman movies at this point that had turned into a franchise, so that might be the one. But this is that next wave of where you start to see certain franchises picking up. So the other thing, and I've mentioned it multiple times, is that this is the first significant time travel movie, and still has, any other movie that's going to use time travel as a significant plot device. This is what they build it on. Or, even though Avengers kind of uses their own version of certain things with time travel and doesn't obey many of the rules, they still address it because this movie has drilled into the heads of so many people what time travel is and the rules for time travel, and the butterfly effect of one little thing here then affects something over here, and et cetera, et cetera. So
but now you're talking about not only one movie, but you're talking about the complete series. When Doc Brown was explaining this to Marty in the second movie, this is what you're taking into account, right?
Well, I mean, you take some of that is still played out by this original piece, because everything he's doing in the past still affects his present, or what will be his present. So by that definition, I don't think this is the most impactful movie in the history of cinema, but it's still high up there for inspiring a next generation of filmmakers, of doing a bunch of different sound and techniques, effects that you start advancing. If it not for something like this, is Spielberg going to take that next big leap of going to Jurassic Park? Now, mind you, I think it's possible because he had already done Jaws, but certain movies build on other movies, and the adventure films of the 80s give way to a lot of what we were able to do in the 90s and the 2000s as far as special effects and building certain worlds. So as far as impact and significance, I gave it a 9 for that reason.
I'm not sure how to comment this, really.
Yeah.
Well, I always try and look in a bigger picture kind of view. This is significant, but is it the most significant of movies? It's not just, where this movie grades out, but you have to think of it in context of movies as a whole, because the whole show is trying to be built around finding the greatest movie of all time. And this can be one of them, but, where does it stack up on that list? And that's where we're trying to go.
When we're talking about time travel movies, I think, yes, this is very important.
Yeah.
This is, should I say, when you look at Back to the Future, and this was so early, showing such a, how should I say, scientific way of time traveling, with so much input, so much technical input, technical explanation, showing a real theory of time traveling. There are many theories of time traveling. Talk to the guys of Big Bang Theory, then you get many of them. Different dimensions, same dimensions, timelines, and so on. It's all very interesting if you are into sci-fi. So many movies, so many systems have picked it up, taken this theory of time travel as they have in Back to the Future, or taking different theories of time travel. And I think when we're talking about time travel on the screen, then there are two names which are really big, which is one, Back to the Future.
Yeah, that's the first benchmark. Absolutely.
Benchmark. I agree. And the second one, not far away time-wise, is when you ask me Back to the Back with Sam Beckett.
Yeah, Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap.
But it's not a cinema, it's a TV series.
It's a TV show.
Yeah.
Quantum Leap. Thank you. Sam Beckett sent himself.
Do you know it? Dean Stockwell?
I've heard of it. I don't think I've ever watched it.
Quantum Leap. This is this?
Quantum Leap. Yeah, he's traveling between his own lifetime.
Okay.
It was a great show. I loved it in the early
Really good.
90s.
Dean Stockwell.
Dean Stockwell, yeah.
So this is.
And he always had to repair things that happened wrong in the past to make it better for the future.
Correct in the past. This is a little bit strange and different, but regarding Back to the Future and Quantum League, these are really the things which started to bringing us TV sitter guys into the question of time traveling. And after that, all the others came, like Terminator and so on.
Sure.
So, yeah. You gave it a 9. I agree.
Okay. What are the other thoughts here?
Movies, where the second movie is better than the first one. Back to the Future is not part of that.
No.
Terminator is.
Terminator is, and Star Wars maybe, but Terminator, the second part works even if you do not know the first one. Star Wars, you have to know the first one. So, little difference.
Maybe. I think you could possibly watch Empire and it works, although you don't have the same relationship to the characters.
When you're young, you see lightsabers. Okay, they can tell you the most bullshit. They have lightsabers ready.
What worked was
and cute little Ewoks.
Return of the Jedi, which was the first Star Wars movie I saw ever. The third, that works great because I had the Ewoks and I had Carrie Fisher in the not so much dress.
No.
So that works very good for me. That was my
I'm not
first
allowed
Star
to
Wars
talk
movie.
about this.
She's not blonde.
No.
You can
She's
talk
not
about
blonde,
it.
but
She's not blonde.
anyway.
And she's dead.
Yeah.
Who?
Anyway,
Unfortunately.
we could talk about Heather Thomas.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We are hitting different subjects here.
All right. So, but what do the other two have for scores? Or are we okay with it just being a 9?
Repeat this, please.
So what do the other two have down for scores, or are we okay with this just being a 9?
Yeah, 9.5.
Okay, so we have another one in there.
Because it's a movie that touched me in my early life, and I will never forget it. And if you think about movies where you can follow every word, not every line, every word by word, and you enjoy looking at it again and again and again and again, and after looking at it again and again, you start watching it in English, and you see some more details, and you love it. You love it again and again and again. There are not many movies that can do that with you. And that's because this half point is it worth.
Movies which are setting kind of a base for so many other movies. And in the newer time, there's only one movie which is doing this. Not as strong as Back to the Future, but as well doing it, which is Matrix.
Matrix Part 1.
Part 1, of course. Which was
only
bringing
part 1.
the base on only a technical level for movies like Shrek.
Yeah.
Just on a technical level, but Back to the
Scary movie.
Scary movie, yes, of course. But Back to the Future was doing this on a serious technical way, in a way which
and it's
I haven't seen
absolutely
before.
entertaining. It's perfectly entertaining. So easy.
It is.
When you go to cinema, you want to be entertained, and it absolutely entertains you from the first until the last second.
True. Agree.
All right. So, so what do we have down for novelty, or do you need me to explain that one?
Oh yeah, the novelty definitely. We are not talking about we are not talking about 2 and 3. We are only talking about 1. So we're not talking about hoverboard, right?
No.
Correct.
When you look back in time, of course, a skateboard, but this
Yeah.
kind of doesn't work because it's going back, right?
Mhm.
Then we have, of course, a time machine
Yeah.
on the technical level.
So, we have science fiction movies before this. We've seen different plays on the subjects. We've seen romantic movies. I think it's building on a lot of these levels, but there are not many movies that combined all of these elements and did it in a way that seemed successful. I mean, you had comedic science fiction movies that worked well in the 80s. Ghostbusters is in there. That was ultimately successful in a similar way. But I think the novel parts of this movie are the way it uses time travel successfully, and maybe some of the technical effects. But outside of that, like, I wouldn't say this is taking up a novel subject matter necessarily, outside of time travel. And I can't think of too many other pieces. So I gave it an 8.
Maybe it built the career of Michael J. Fox, because all the roles he had after that shown that little nice guy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something.
This is peak Michael J. Fox, but the show that built him was an American sitcom called Family Ties that he was one of the stars of. So I don't know if this is his peak role.
One be known in Germany because nobody knows in Germany. We only know.
Ich hab die gesehen.
Okay, but
there were better ones.
There was
not
very successful in Germany.
If it's successful.
It was seen, yes, but not so successful
without
all the other things. So yes, definitely, that was the movie which made him successfully international.
Well, that'll grant you. I still think that ultimately any success he has afterwards are built a little bit on the back of this franchise, and he turns into a much, much bigger star. But I don't think that it built his brand by itself, at least for the American audience. And during the 80s, up until maybe about, 2005, movies were not made for an international audience. They were made for, American audiences, and then hoped that it would translate elsewhere. Whereas currently, like, if you're hoping to open a movie and have it be ultimately successful, you want to have the Chinese market, the European market, and the American market, and have them all simultaneously do well. Part of the reason that the recent Star Wars movies weren't as big as some others, or even like the Avengers movies, is they don't play well in Europe and China, because they don't have the same connection sometimes that American audiences do, because it's an older franchise. The Avengers franchise is such a more modern franchise that all of these audiences have grown up with it. But at the time, you're not building upon that. So Michael J. Fox is built on possibly one of the 3 biggest shows of the 80s at the time. It was probably between The Cosby Show, Family Ties, and Cheers during the 80s for an American television audience, and he was a part of one of them. But this movie took him from being, a star of a TV show to being a movie star. And so that does build something, but I don't know if that fits into novelty necessarily.
Okay. So then we agree to 8.
Okay.
We do.
Yep.
All right. 8's all around, so we can do that. All right. Classicness. I'm sure this is probably one of the more difficult categories to explain. So I think rewatchability is self-explanatory, and you guys are probably going to grade this out much higher because you watched this movie a lot more than I have. So I already mentioned to you the George McFly spying on someone. That does not age well in a Me Too environment. No.
Probably
Them
not.
them stripping his pants off and him sleeping in his underwear, also kind of weird. The use of the DeLorean, I know it's classic, but the fact that AMC as a as a brand, even let alone the car itself, doesn't exist. There are elements of that don't necessarily fit 35 years later. So I think it ages, but there are certain elements of it that don't, I can't give it a full 10. So I went with 7.5. I can probably be convinced up to an 8 because this is somewhat of a period movie. And because we have the benefit of hindsight where you're making a movie in 1985 that's mostly about 1955, you have the benefit of looking back with some hindsight and not having weird elements. But there are some cringy parts of this movie that didn't age well. Also, Pepsi free? What the hell is Pepsi free?
Pepsi free. Free of paying? What? The things that never get an age is the score. Absolutely, the score, the music.
Yeah.
Because you can ever play that music if it is orchestral music or is it the rock music. Everyone knows it, and everyone gets a feeling about it.
Yeah.
Every time.
No, I'll buy that.
The only thing that will never get any age.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would you have for a point total?
If this is the only one, I would like to agree with you.
I'm fine with this.
Okay. Right. Rewatchability. I hope I don't have to explain much of this one, but basically, how many, or do you watch this movie regularly, essentially, but have no problem rewatching it? It's fun no matter how many times you watch it, or I place it into the same category. We did Ferris Bueller, even though I haven't uploaded the episode yet. We're keeping it in reserve. But we did a Ferris Bueller episode not too long ago, and I watched it the first time through. Then Sarah's like, I haven't seen this movie. So I played it again. I literally played it back to back, which is about the first time I've done that ever with a movie in probably 20 years. But essentially that you get, or that you can watch it back to back without it being a problem. On a scale of 1 to 10, how rewatchable is this movie? This is only the second time I've seen it. I know you guys are going to differ with me on it, but I had it in an 8.5. This is not one of those that is one of necessarily my favorites. I enjoy the movie, but it's not one that I'm rewatching a lot.
When I think about it, I cannot imagine any movie that I would like to see more often than that one. Absolutely. Because in German television, it's shown, I guess, about 3 times a year. And every time I see it, or when I change the channels and I see, there's Back to the Future, I stop there and watch the movie. Always. And there's no other movie that can do that with me. Maybe Star Wars, maybe Matrix, but both of them are not shown so many times. Maybe Blues Brothers, I like that very much.
But Spencer and Tensil movies might be
Two of them.
Yeah, just very few movies can keep, or shows can keep us from staying with these movies when browsing around. So that's what it is. That's what we start in the saying in the beginning.
Because that must be a 10. Nothing less. Absolutely 10.
Everybody else feel the same?
Maybe you cannot imagine that because you're too young for that. If you are an 80s guy, you would absolutely agree. I'm sure your mom would agree, and she's a 70s girl.
First off, my mom barely remembers any of the movies that she has seen, so that's tough for you to begin with. But two, this doesn't even make her top 10 list. I guarantee you on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if she gets the permission to get to Germany now.
I will have to talk to my sister yet.
I guess. No, I agree. I agree with Alex. It's a 10. It's a movie. So, whenever you get to it, you stay with it. You stick to it.
If there would be
for me, there are rarely movies which I can watch over and over again. So this is.
Hey, I've seen that one. It's a rerun.
Yeah.
So this is Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, maybe. Yes.
This movie. This is
Star Wars.
No. This is Kill Bill. This
Kill
is
Bill.
Sin City.
Sin City is great. Yes.
Echt, really?
So this are movies which I could watch
over
and I would never get bored by it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So it's a 10.
It's a 10.
So it's a 10 all the way around?
Otherwise, you get trumped. For 4 years. Again.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, that's not happening, but...
Was der jetzt hin? Okay.
All right, so let me just add this up with a 9.4 audience score and all of our other ones. So let me just recap. Legacy, 9.75 is the average. Then we had 9.17 for impact significance. We have an 8 all around for novelty. We had a 7.5 for classicness. We had a 9.625 on rewatchability and a 9.4 audience score for a grand total of 53.45, which puts it at the number 1 on the list.
Hey! USA! USA!
That doesn't even make sense.
Doesn't matter. Dude, doesn't matter. USA.
All right, so first question. Why did the Libyans need to kill Doc Brown? Why wouldn't they, kidnap him and force him to make the bomb? That doesn't make sense. It just never will make sense to me.
I don't understand the question.
The Libyans, warum wollten die eine Bombe bauen?
Yeah, why do Libyans want to make a bomb?
Because 9/11 can happen every year.
Well,
Because they're
the
terrorists.
Libyans,
That's the reason.
okay, the Libyans at the time were part of the under Gaddafi were kind of similar to Iraq, under Hussein or Iran. They were part of
the producers need some enemies, and they put something out. Sounds.
No, that's not a problem. That's pretty easy. When you say the Libyans.
No, I don't care about the
Libyans.
My question is why did they kill Doc Brown instead of kidnapping him and forcing him to make the bomb? The whole point is they steal the plutonium for him to make a dirty bomb to use on the United States. And when he doesn't make, they come after him with guns and shoot him instead of trying to plutonium or trying to kidnap him or any of the other things. It's a weird part of the plot that, given modern cinema, doesn't really fit.
And they have a VW, a Volkswagen.
Well, okay, but at the time, that was still at least a more notable car. I mean, they have started I thought they started making those again.
It is not. It does make sense. Think of the Libyans at Muslimic terrorists. So far, so good. So these guys went to Doc Brown and paid him a lot of money and gave him plutonium to build a bomb for them, a dirty bomb. He didn't do it. He screwed them. So far, so good. After a certain time, they found out that they were screwed by him. So they might be those. I mean, they are Muslimic terrorists. So they are blinded, strange, extremistic guys. So what happened to them? They have been screwed by somebody. What do you do with when you have been screwed by somebody?
You take revenge.
If you are so blinded in your mind, you don't think clearly. You just go for revenge. There you go. So you have to kill him. That does not make no sense.
I'm sorry. I'll accept that as an explanation, but it doesn't. It's just not going to make sense to me. It's not. But all right. Next question. What does George McFly do as an occupation? What's his job?
He's a pupil.
No, the older one.
He's an author.
No.
Well, but that's his first book.
As Bill does. He works in the same company as Bill because he has to write something and put his Bill's name on it.
It's a weird question. In what company these two guys are working?
Well,
and what are they doing?
Exactly. Because I think it defines how the structure, because, in the first part of the movie, he's working under Biff. By the end of it, he's supposedly rich. So by not knowing what he does for a living, they've changed Biff's job completely. And so now he's working as like an auto mechanic or whatever, as opposed to now we have no idea what George does other than he's just now written his first book. Or at least that's what we're supposed to believe. So is he, is it not his first book? Is it, something bigger? What? It's an open-ended question that they never really explain as part of the plot.
Yes, but is it necessary to be explained? What you know is that he's another one and he's a successful one.
Yeah.
And he's happy with the situation. That is the point that needs to be that does not need to be explained.
It's an office job, clearly, because he's writing some kind of reports. But could be kind of anything.
But does it make the movie better? Not does it need to be explained? I think it could have potentially, at least, I don't need much. I need maybe 1 or 2 lines added to the movie. But it would explain and make things make a little bit more sense.
I guess
if they do it,
they
get the speed out of the storytelling.
Yeah.
And the first auditions to some test audience, they had some minutes more, about 5 or 6 minutes more, and then they cut it out. Because there are things that do not need to be explained. Because after the hit to Biff, he changed. And, when Marty went back in 85, he sees that it's changed. The home is different, the couch is different, and the kids are different. Dave is wearing a suit, and the sister does something else. Everything have changed, and do you really need that fucking line just to be explained something? Dude, really?
You said the F word.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Cut it out. Fuck.
No.
Sorry. Fuck.
First off, we don't need to cut that out because I swear all the time on this fucking podcast. So just relax. But anyway, the point being, again, it doesn't need to be there, but it makes it better because there's parts of this as far as the plot. It's not like where we're trying to get overly technical like we did with the car and the lightning strike and all of that whole sequence because you suspend disbelief. But this is the difference between having a tight plot line that makes sense. Essentially, we've solved one problem and created another. We solved that now George is successful, but we don't know why he's successful. Other than, he's been able to gain some level of confidence.
He got self-confidence, and that's enough.
Okay, so if you automatically
no, we are
gonna be rich.
This not watching. This is San Francisco. You know that? This is inside. Do you know that? Oh, we have to talk that line because Thomas has to hear it. Dude, we don't have to. It's not impossible.
It's not needed to have this explained.
No.
I'm sorry. I
absolutely not.
George McFly
Go over it.
Is a different guy. He has a different past. Your past and your experiences in your past is what you make what you are right now. And this
what happened about the binoculars? I need some sentence about it.
I'm sorry. There are flaws in this plot line and in this movie. I don't care. Yes, there are. All right. Question number 3. Why does Biff suddenly get the urge to essentially assault/rape Lorraine?
Could you repeat that?
Yeah, the connection is bad. Please repeat that.
Okay, why does Biff suddenly get the urge to essentially assault/rape Lorraine? He goes from like 1 to 60, and after she kisses Marty and then like that whole thing breaks off, he ends up coming over to the car and like trying to assault her in a way that doesn't seem to like make sense, that he's all of a sudden like he has barely had a thing for Lorraine throughout the entire movie, and now he's turned into like some guy that's just gonna sexually assault her in a car while his posse stands around. It's another part of the movie that just, to me, doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
But they explained it when Marty is in school, in the high school, and talks to George to invite Lorraine. You see that Biff get in touch with Lorraine, and she doesn't want it. But he did it until Marty stopped. So in this continues with the... So it's completely explained. He's an asshole. And he comes through with it. Until it hits him out.
The question
All right.
is, this certain scene in the car is a little bit more strange. It's a little bit more intense because he was close to rape her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think it looks great in the hindsight. But...
The reason why Biff came even was after Lorraine all the time. Biff was after Lorraine all the time. That is clearly seen. And this has been in both timelines. At the parking lot, Biff came to the car not because of Lorraine. He came there because of Marty. Because he has something with Marty, with his car. What has happened in the original timeline, Biff wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do whatever else. Wouldn't go to Lorraine in the parking spot. So that is a difference. That is a change. And this is why in the original timeline, Biff hadn't assaulted Lorraine. In this changed timeline, Biff was almost raping Lorraine, and this led to, of course, to George's big moment. In the original timeline, this never has happened by chance. Could have happened, yes, but didn't happen because there was never a situation like this. But here we had horny Lorraine showing almost her boobies because she wants to go with Marty, and Biff jumped into the scene, catching Marty, and then seeing Lorraine and getting horny as hell. So this situation that didn't happen in the original timeline, just in the new timeline. So it's a little strange, a little weird, but not unrealistic.
Okay, I see the point. I just, it's something that doesn't age well for me. All right, now my final and biggest discussion question.
You just didn't.
Once again, network problems.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
It's a little breaking. Waking up.
It's like a stop motion.
Stop motion.
Stop motion, not hearing.
We see.
Okay. Well, I mean, I wasn't
now
talking.
You're dancing on the movie scene.
All right, so can you understand me now?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, so final question. Why wouldn't Marty's parents remember him in the future?
Good.
They do.
Question.
Because
No!
Do they not?
They don't
They
remember
do.
him as the guy they met.
I know the Twitter thing with the other actor. It's explained. It's completely explained. Of
No,
course,
it's not.
remember, because they give
And you cut out.
Marty. Connection. Are you back?
Yes.
Okay. They remember. And Lorraine says that. Oh, Marty, it's a very nice name. And to their third child, they give them they remember. Of course they do.
They remember a guy, but they won't remember that this was their son.
Yeah.
And there are no photographs. Try to remember people you met in school 20 years ago. Do you know all exact detail of how they are looking or all the names? You do not. I do not.
Okay, I don't remember names. I am terrible with names. But I remember the face of every person I've met in my
when
life.
she fell in love, name, give her some same name.
Yep.
So this thing, it's not a story. It's completely clear.
No, it is not.
I disagree. It doesn't make so much sense because he was such an important guy. She fell in love with him. She almost
Bingo.
go with him like hell. So she would.
When she was fucking several times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
she would remember him.
She was
because
afflicted.
they realized that it doesn't fit between each other.
Yeah.
So
Maybe she forgot it.
maybe it's he turned out like a very, very good friend, which helped them to come together, which is part
Maybe.
of their story coming together. So
I think the real reason why they don't realize that it's their own son is the following reason. It was not written in the script.
That's exactly right. It is the biggest plot hole of this entire movie. the guy that is part of the story of how you met and how you fell in love and is significant to all of the stuff that came after it. You remember his name, but you don't remember him? Really? It's one thing to say that you don't remember peripheral people or the guy who sat to my left in, freshman English. But it's another thing entirely to say that the guy who played a significant role in how the outcome of my life was, and I don't remember him. It's just not possible. It's just not.
I agree.
I do not.
I wish we could talk more, but I'm having a friend for dinner. That's it for us this week. Dana and I will be back with our regular podcast later in the week. Please rate, subscribe, and review to get the new episodes of each podcast each week. If you provide a review, it'll help others find the show. If you would like to be a guest host on the show, let us know at either tj3.duncan@gmail.com or contact us via the website that we usually provide in the show notes. Until next week, thanks everybody and have a great one.